You're in a room full of people losing their minds. Someone scored, a grown man is crying, a stranger just hugged you, and you're sitting there completely untouched, not bored, not judging, just nothing. And for years, you've quietly wondered, is something wrong with me? Here's what's actually wrong. Nothing. But what's happening inside your brain right now, that's where it gets strange. Because in 2019, researchers put sports fans inside brain scanners during a live match, and what they saw on the screen, nobody expected it. Their nervous systems weren't watching a game, they were surviving one. Heart rate spiking, cortisol flooding, the exact same biological emergency response that fires when you are personally being chased. For a stranger, kicking a ball on a screen. And here's the question nobody stops to ask. Why would a human brain do that? Because your brain wasn't built for today, it was built for 60,000 years ago, when your tribe was your survival. If your group lost, you lost everything. Food, safety, your life. So your brain hardwired itself to treat the tribe's outcome as your own. Sports teams are just modern tribes, jerseys instead of war paint, stadiums instead of battlefields. That wiring never left. It just found new targets. But here's where it splits, and this is the part that actually explains you. When researchers ran the same scans on people who don't care about sports, the tribal response barely moved. The brain sat there, calm, processing, completely unbothered. For years, scientists assumed this meant something was missing. That's where they got it wrong. A study published in late 2024 tracked personality traits across athletes, fans, and non-participants, and one trait kept showing up consistently across every single dataset in the people who felt nothing in that crowd. Higher openness to experience. Not lower emotion, not less passion, higher curiosity, higher imagination, a hunger for ideas that keep evolving, not repeating the same season, same rivalry, same result on a loop. For this kind of brain, that's not stimulation, that's just noise. Your brain wasn't failing to connect to the tribe, it scanned the tribe and quietly concluded, there's nothing new here for me. That's not a flaw, that's a filter. Now, dopamine, because most people have this completely backwards. Dopamine isn't about pleasure, it's about anticipation, that electric tension in the half second before you know what happens. Sports is basically a dopamine machine. Every play, every possession, continuous microdoses of not knowing firing through a fan's brain. Psychologists call it intermittent reinforcement, unpredictable outcomes, tension that never fully resolves. You know what else runs on that exact mechanism? Slot machines. Same circuitry, same loop, same craving for the next hit of uncertainty. Here's the part nobody tells you. Some brains simply don't get that hit from watching other people compete. Their dopamine only fires for one thing: mastery. The moment a skill clicks after weeks of struggle, the satisfaction of figuring something out that took real effort, a high you personally caused. If that's you, watching strangers play doesn't just feel uninteresting, it feels hollow, empty calories for the brain. Because your reward system has a stricter standard, it only pays out for outcomes you created. That's not a deficiency, that's a more demanding relationship with your own brain, and honestly, a more honest one. Now here's where it gets uncomfortable. Researchers started studying what happens to a sports fan's identity after wins and losses. After a win, we won. After a loss, they lost. The pronouns flip every time without thinking. Your self-esteem quietly claims victories and distances from defeats automatically to stay intact. It works, but only if your identity needs external results to hold its shape. People who don't obsess over sports, their identity isn't built from affiliation. It's built from choices, values, things they actually did. Take the team away, they're still exactly who they were, a foundation that doesn't need a scoreboard to know it's standing. And here's the layer most videos skip entirely. For roughly 1 in 5 people, a sports environment isn't exciting, it's expensive. The noise, the crowd, the relentless unpredictability, none of that produces a high, it produces depletion, a drain that follows you home. This has been mislabeled for decades: anxiety, introversion, you're no fun. But here's what's actually true. The person who felt everything before others registered it, who noticed the shift in a room before anyone spoke, that person was the one who kept everyone else alive for thousands of years. That sensitivity was a survival advantage. It didn't disappear. The environment just changed. When a stadium drains you instead of energizing you, that's not a flaw. That's your nervous system accurately reporting, this costs more than it returns. That's calibration, not weakness. But I need to stop here, because this next part is the one people don't want to hear. Everything above is real. The openness trait, the mastery dopamine, the stable identity, the sensory calibration. But these same traits can become the most comfortable cage you've ever lived in. The preference for depth becomes a reason to never start something that might fail. The internal stability becomes a way of never putting yourself somewhere the outcome actually matters. The sensitivity becomes an exit from every room that asks something real from you. So ask yourself the actual question underneath all of this. Are you genuinely invested in something right now? Something that could disappoint you? Something with real stakes? Something that, if it went wrong, would hurt? If yes, everything in this video describes you accurately. If the honest answer is no, then the distance isn't personality, it's habit, and habits can be changed. Here's what I want you to walk away with. The reason sports don't reach you isn't absence, it isn't a missing circuit. It's a brain that at some point, without you even realizing it, asked a question most people never think to ask. Out of everything I could give my attention to, does this deserve it? And quietly, without drama, without needing anyone to agree, it answered no. Research doesn't call that apathy. It calls it a psychologically distinct state, a different strategy for meaning, emotion, and identity. And it shows up consistently in independent thinkers. But here's the open loop I'll leave you with. If your brain and a sports fan's brain are both chasing the same thing, meaning, connection, a story worth being part of, and they're just finding it in completely different places, what does that say about where you've been pointing yours? Is it somewhere that matters, something that could fail, something that keeps you up, not from anxiety, but from actually caring? Because a brain wired for depth, for mastery, for meaning you personally create, pointed at nothing is one of the quietest forms of waste there is. You were never missing the passion, you were just waiting to find out where it belongs. And that answer, that's the one worth spending your life on.